Mitch here for Norwich Guitar Academy, doing a video lesson on the sweep tap lick from Yngwie Malmsteen's Far Beyond the Sun. This is a fantastic lick for guitarists of all abilities to add a bit of sweeping and a bit of tapping into your guitar playing. So what we're going to do, first of all, break it down, just look at it note by note. After that, we're going to have a look at the techniques, how we're going to do those sweeps and how we're going to do those taps. And lastly, we're going to have a look at a little bit of theory, so you can take a lick like this and add it into your own guitar playing. Alright, without any further ado, let's have a look at the lick. Alright, so this lick is essentially an F sharp minor arpeggio, and it starts off with this little sweep on fret 11 on the G, so we're starting with your F sharp, dropping down to fret 10 on the B string, which is your A, and dropping down again onto fret 9 on the E, your C sharp, before hammering on all the way to your octave of F sharp on fret 14. So once more. Okay, the tapping comes in here, so you're stretching all the way up with your right hand to fret 17, tapping and pulling off with the little finger to the index before hammering back on. Your right hand then comes up to fret 21, you're going to tap and pull off again. Same thing with the left hand, you're going to pull off and hammer on again, and then down to fret 17 again, where you're going to tap and pull off, and this time your left hand is going to pull off, hammer on, pull off, hammer on, pull off, and that's it. Okay, so let's break it down and look at what the left hand is doing first. So the important thing with any sweep is clarity. Now the notes we're playing aren't going to sound too good if we just hit them all together. You're going to get this sort of messy, smushy collection of notes that's more like a chord than a kind of sweep arpeggio. So to avoid this, what we have to do is release each finger as we press the next finger down. So we'd start on our ring finger, we'd pluck that note, and then as our pick makes contact with the B string, we release the ring finger and press down the middle finger. And we repeat this process with the middle to the index. Now to prevent any ring out of the notes, we don't want to take our fingers right away like I did there. Instead, what we're going to do is just relax the fingers enough to deaden the strings. So, for example, just like that, one more time. You notice I'm getting no extra notes from the strings. With regards to the thumb, you want to keep it in a nice relaxed position, not too low unless you're doing a huge stretch, but not sort of hooked over the top like you were doing a bend. Instead, keep it just sort of peeking out over the top, and that should give you a nice comfortable position from which to launch into your sweeps. Alright, so now it's time to look at the right hand. This is the more difficult hand for sweeping. The first thing you've got to do is make sure that you're hitting the strings at the same time you're pressing and releasing your left hand fingers. Synchronization is basically the most important thing with sweeps. If they're not in time, you're just going to have a mess. So what you've got to make sure you're doing is when you press down with the left hand, you're plucking with the right hand and letting that pick glide gently across the strings, like you're doing a strum in slow motion. In fact, the angle of the pick should be pretty much identical to the angle that you would strum at. If you get those things right, it should be a fairly simple process to start slow and gradually increase the tempo. You should get a nice clean sweep. Another thing to consider is, when you're sweeping with your right hand, you've got a choice. You can either move entirely with the wrist, from the elbow, or you can use a combination of the two. Now this is really something that you have to decide for yourself. Everybody does it slightly differently, but a good place to start, I would suggest, is rotating gently from the wrist. Once you get the hang of this, you can try experimenting, incorporating a bit of the arm, especially for larger sweeps that might cover 5 or 6 strings even. One last thing to consider is, as you're sweeping across the strings, try and use the edge of your palm to mute any notes behind the note you've just swept past. So, for example, once I sweep that note on the G string, as I go to hit the note on the B string, I've already cut off the note on the G with the palm of my right hand. That way you're not going to have any excess string noise. If you do that in combination with the left hand, you're going to get a really nice clean sweep, which is what's going to sound really good. Okay, so we're moving on to the tapping part now. Now we've already completed our sweep, and from there you're going to hammer on with your little finger onto fret 14, and that's just a standard hammer on. So the real fun begins with the tapping. Now if you're new to tapping, it's really just a hammer on with your strumming hand. So you're going to bring across, ideally, the middle finger on your right hand here. You don't want to use the index probably, because it means you have to put your pick down, which is no good. You're going to need that in a second. So using your middle finger on fret 17, what you're going to do is, with a little twist of the wrist and a little stab of the finger, you're going to tap the finger down on the fret wire, or just next to the fret wire rather. From here, to get the pull off, you can either flick towards the ground or towards the centre of the guitar neck. Personally, I go with towards the ground as I find that more comfortable, but try both ways for yourself and see what you find most comfortable and most efficient. So really, it's just a sequence involving these right hand hammer-ons. So I'm going to tap and pull off, and then going to pull off and hammer on with the left hand. And then I'm going up to fret 21, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing here. Before returning to 17 and finishing the lick. And that's all there is to it, guys. Okay, so that was it. That was the lick, the sweep tapping lick from Far Beyond the Sun by Yngwie Malmsteen, broken down for you. If you're wondering how you could actually incorporate something like this into your own playing, all it is an arpeggio. So any time you would normally play an arpeggio or a chord, you could throw in the sweep for that chord. So go away, have a look at your arpeggio shapes, just learn where the notes are along the neck, and use your imagination. It's really that simple. Alright, see you guys next time.